Hello, friends, and welcome back. We are back again for episode 7 of The Penguin Top Hat. One more to go. I'm excited, and I'm also a little bit bummed. But I'm here with Jarrod. Jarrod, how are you doing?
I have similar feelings to you, Steve. I am going to be bummed when this is over. I but man, I can't wait for Sunday at the same time.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword, because it's exciting that we're getting to the end, and it's all this build-up, but also it's the last one for at least a while, or if ever again. So,
Or if, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. At least this time, the title of this episode was a bit more obvious why they chose that.
Yeah, they really hammered that home. They really kept that scene of the movie on to make sure that we understood this is like kind of this is kind of where the Penguin was born. These are the events that kind of his kind of the idea came from, and the suit and the top hat, and so yeah.
Yeah, they really hit us over the head with all the stuff that they only hinted at in previous episodes. This one was the one where they said, "Yep, this is the Penguin for a reason." He's called that because of his disability, but he also has that flair for that dramatic type of thing where you get in that movie that they show as him as a kid. You have all the guys in the those old fashioned, what do you call those, tuxedos?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, words failed me too. I was like, what do they call those?
Yeah. The tuxedos, which of course they always equate penguins with wearing nature's tuxedo, but and of course in that movie, one of the men in the tuxedo is doing that fake gunning down of all the other men in the tuxedos in the movie on the TV that they're watching, and it points to that very criminal element that we get quite exposed to in the rest of the episode.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So you had mentioned before we started recording about how you were a little bit surprised about how much of his backstory we got. It was fascinating, and I was wondering. Okay, so during the episode, I wondered how differently would this story have been told, or how differently would this be hit us? Would it be more or less impactful if this was the first episode, if these events were kind of where it started, versus where we're one episode from the finale?
That's actually a great question, because I thought that the revelations of what he did to his brothers was made Oz a less sympathetic character. I think if we would have known that from the start, we wouldn't have got as empathic with him as we have been through this whole journey.
Yeah. And I think in the first couple of episodes, when a lot of people thought he was a joke and he was dismissed, he was just a driver, he wasn't taken very seriously. I think if we would have known what happened to his brothers before, I think that would have hit a little differently, because he seems like a kind of a wannabe, kind of, he's never really done much. He's never gotten his hands dirty, I guess. And obviously now we know that he definitely has. And those events we also understand better the connection with him and his mom. That whole thing is really weird. that connection they have is really strange.
Yeah, there was obvious an extreme amount of jealousy on his part towards his brothers, and And yeah, that connection. He wanted to do stuff with his mother that the other boys were not interested in, and she would dote on them for their strengths, and she would give them the task that she thought they could handle rather than Oz, and Oz was just going to go along for the ride. And just the way it all played out, it was really, it just emphasized Oz's jealous need for his mother and what the lengths he would go to protect what he thinks he needs.
Yeah.
Extreme.
Yeah. You know what I liked, and this may sound a little weird, but usually in stories like this, they'll make their brothers to be kind of bullies, and they would pick on Oz, or they would kind of, they'd be mean to him, or they would kind of push him to a certain point. They seemed like they really cared about him. I mean, there was some kid back and forth, but for the most part, they seemed like they genuinely cared about him, like they wanted the best for him. And I think that makes it even, not that it wouldn't be tragic if they were little jerks, because a lot of kids are little jerks, but the fact that they did seem like they genuinely cared about their mom, they genuinely cared about him, about each other, and that made it even just more heart-wrenching.
Yeah, it made his actions so much more worse because they weren't extreme bullies at all to him. Yeah, like you said, they cared about him. They kind of made fun of him. They kind of pulled one on him when they used a ladder as part of their game because they knew it was hard for him to use the ladder. But that is normal kid stuff. That is part of growing up. And in no way is that the worst stuff we've seen in real life, in my movies, But so for Oz to take it to the extent that he did was pretty extreme, and he didn't like. It was more just a close the door and forget about it kind of moment. But the fact that he could revel in his alone time with his mother after that and never really say anything, that's a deep disturbed person. and somebody you would not have had any sympathy or empathy for if we would have known that earlier on. So I think I think the placement of it now was pretty brilliant on the showrunner's part.
Yeah, I think so too. And he shows no sympathy at all. No, doesn't seem like he has any regrets. No sympathy. No, kind of forgot all about it. Not long after it happened, it almost seemed like he was happy to be alone with his mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost like this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty messed up. But it's weird because he doesn't, before those events, you don't really get the vibe from him that he's a sociopath. I was expecting something really bad to happen to set him on a different path, but I think he was already on that path.
Yeah, I was trying to, because you're right, because you don't see the psychopath part of him. I mean, you do see it a little bit here and there when when he takes such pleasure in burning alive the Maronis there, and
Yeah.
so he's definitely a bad guy, and he's definitely, and that in and of itself has a certain amount of sociopathic quality, but then that aspect of him showing no regret whatsoever for his own brothers really drives home, and the fact that he is a sociopath, and that he it gives a certain different light to some of the stuff that's gone on throughout the series. And and we're contrasting this, of course, with Sophia. The whole series we've been contrasting those two, and going into this final episode, I don't know about you, but I'm rooting for Sophia because he's a nutcase. Because what he did to his brothers and having no remorse and no regret, it just you kind of don't like him anymore. And
Yeah.
with Sophia, she was innocent, in a certain way, and thrown in Arkham and transformed and turned a little crazy because of her experiences there over the 10 years she was there. And you kind of get where she's coming from, on the crazy meter. But Oz, you didn't get that. You didn't get that. You didn't see what made him into that crazy that you saw with Sophia.
It's almost, and while you were talking, I was thinking about it. It's almost like she was put on the path and he set himself on the path. So this is the life that he chose. She didn't choose this life. She didn't choose. It seemed like she wanted to do good things. She had the charity. She had initiatives that she wanted to try to follow through with. And she knew who her family was, but she never really, it didn't seem like she ever really participated or was ever really a part of that side of it. But Oz chose, he chose to lead this life. So yeah, it's a big, it's funny to see the differences now. And even Sophia now I think she's starting to realize that she may have created a new her by killing her family, with the niece living in, she's hurting herself. And so that moment that she's there talking with her niece and she realizes the things that she's done, and she has a moment there. Oz never has any kind of, he never has, I don't think he's ever gotten close to that type of moment, other than maybe missing Vic or worrying about his mom.
Right. And there's the contrast. Oz doesn't seem to have that level of self-awareness that Sophia is displaying especially when Sophia is talking to Gia, the girl that she ended up putting in the orphanage. And I love the flashing of the reminding of Arkham Asylum when she's just going through that orphanage, and tons of character building there. But
Yeah.
But with Oz, like you said, the difference is he's self-created his own path, and and it's not like Sophia didn't know who her family was, so there was a certain level of denialism there, because she's doing the charities and stuff like that. And of course, she only wants to believe the best. Maybe Daddy's doing this stuff because he's forced to, or something like that. Because she was, in denial up until the fact that it got revealed that he was the hangman, and he was the reason why she was put in there. So you get that, and in Oz's case, his mother was involved in something. She was working with those crooks, whoever they were. I'm not sure exactly what the deal was there, but there were payoffs of some sort, and so his mother was involved in something, and he knew it on some level. The kids were in charge of dealing with, his older brother was in charge of dealing with him. So there's a lot of inferences there on both sides to be made. Yeah. Good stuff.
And I think Oz too. I think he got rid of his brothers, whether it was intentional initially or not. He didn't exactly go to help them or do anything for them after he knew that it would they weren't home. It was raining. He probably had an idea that they could be in danger. And so he was happy he had his mom to himself, but then he also sees that he hurt her, and she makes him promise to become something to take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted her to himself. He took those steps to make it so. Once he had her alone, he realized that he had hurt her, and he's trying to. That's almost like one of the biggest drivers, I think, for him is to almost take that, not so much take the pain away, but not let her down and fulfill his promises to her when he was young, after his brothers died. So it's this weird circle that they're in of he did something bad to be alone with his mom. He hurt his mom. He sees his mom hurt. He's trying to make up for it in this weird and roundabout way. Not that he's sorry about what he did. He's trying to be what she wants him to be. It's just weird. It's just about, yeah.
Pretty messed up. Yeah, he has to prove himself to her. He has to overcome whatever it is that he thinks that she doesn't see in him, and yeah, it's just it's pretty messed up. Pretty messed up stuff. So Sophia captures mom.
Yeah.
And what did you think? Because we were speculating last time about whether Vic would die. And what do you think about her just kind of just leaving him there? And, I guess we didn't really see what happened. We assumed she just knocked him out, hit him on the head with a gun or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with that because I think Sophia, in that case, if the reason that she didn't kill him, the only thing I can think about or I can think of is that she had some kind of sympathy for him because she knew where he came from. She was familiar with him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So she felt like he may not be as guilty or be as involved. He may not have the blood in his hands that Oz does. But on the other hand, she's done some other things that I thought she would have killed him in that sense, just got rid of him. That would have made Oz hurt too because she had an idea of their connection. So if she wanted to hurt him, killing Vic would have sent a pretty good message.
Yeah, I was curious how that went down too, because I just, so he's not dead, and then Oz sends him out, sends him away, and I don't think we ever heard from him for the rest of the episode, if I remember correctly, right?
No, I don't think so. I guess she may have spared him to be a messenger to pass the message along of who has his mom to kind of, so he knew exactly what was going on, so he had to be the messenger. I mean, that's why she spared him.
Yeah,
but
right. Because if Vic wasn't there and mom was just gone and he was dead, where's he go? What does he do?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they do have each other's numbers, so
You would think so.
Yeah. That was the only spot that was just kind of like, I was like, that didn't really. I don't know. I couldn't quite figure out why they were doing that the way they did. Maybe it'll be explained in the finale.
I'm assuming that Vic went to the people who met at the summit last week in episode 6 for help. He went to some of those people for help to gather an army. So I think he'll show up at the most opportune time. But I still don't think he's going to survive. I still don't think he'll make it.
Yeah. Well, that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
And once And of course, Sophia sends Sal Maroni to get Oz whenever he shows up. Oz was looking in a very bad place right at that point. And then we get the point where you wonder, because she wants to keep him alive. She tells Sal to keep him alive, and you're like, okay, all right. So Sal is not gonna refrain from killing him at this point. And then so Sophia is talking to Francis in the little psychotic showdown between those two, and I'm trying to remember what Sophia was trying to get out of that.
I think she was trying to be, well, again, I think Sophia was trying to antagonize, but I think she ended up coming away with some sympathy because she knew that she was suffering from something, that she didn't know where she was, and she thought that she was back in time. So I think Sophia was trying to, just kind of rub it in. But again, I think Sophia shows this human side. After everything she's been through, she still has those moments of humanity.
Right. And it was a very interesting conversation between those two. It was a wicked, engaging scene because I really like the dialogue between those two. I really like how that was written, and I think, because one of the observations that Sophia made was that when she was first talking to Francis before she had the episode was, now I know why Oz is so messed up just from talking to her. I just like, oh boy. Yeah, you got it. Because the thing we got to remember is Francis was not a nice person either.
No.
She wasn't so it was a very interesting scene between those two, especially when she had not the psychotic episode, the whether it's dementia or whatever the diagnosis was, and how Sophia kind of turned it around a little bit with her attitude towards Francis,
and also the fact that Oz killed his brothers. So Francis didn't seem like a completely irredeemable person. I mean, she was involved with the neighborhood mob, or she was involved with some not so up and up things, but she was struggling to get by.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like she loved her kids. And those events also seems like it ruined her in some ways. Like it really soured her. Like it turned her into this bitter, angry person whose sole goal was to make sure that Oz achieved certain goals.
right? And it was, and it wasn't, and she wasn't always doing it in the nicest way towards Oz at all.
Yeah. So I'm guessing Oz never admits to anything, right? He never comes clean to anyone or never tells the story, just that they went to a movie and kind of leaves it.
Yeah. Yeah, because, no, it doesn't seem that way at all. He's kept that to himself this whole time. And something like that would definitely eat away at you and turn you into the bad person that he is, probably. But, wow. So, Um,
Yeah, it was a pretty emotional episode. This one was.
it was emotional, and yeah, but it was also quite violent.
Yeah,
This episode, and when that final showdown between Oz and Sal was something else. I kind of actually quite enjoyed the way that ended
yeah,
with Sal having a heart attack. I think just
yeah,
and and Oz being quite disappointed in the way Sal ended. I was like, that was perfect because he was like, he was expecting either to die or to kill. Like there was no in between here, and of course Sal robbed them of either one
yeah.
of those options and by having a heart attack. I thought that was brilliant. I loved that.
That was great. He had to point out that I won. You know that I won. I
Yeah.
beat you because he wanted that moment of victory and for Sal to know that it was him.
Yep.
At least So yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
That was pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, and then we get to that scene, and they switched a lot back and forth between all the different events. A lot of cuts back and forth. But we get to that scene where Sophia is talking to Gia, and like I said, I thought that was very well done. Her whole approach to the room and what effect that must have had on her as it reminded her of her time in Arkham. And like, what have I done putting this kid in here,
Yeah.
in this kind of a situation? And she starts right off the bat lying to her. You know,
Yeah.
like, and then the kid asks about the mask and something struck her at that point where she's like, okay, I'm going to tell you that your whole family were bad people, and I'm not. She said something like, I'm not sad that they're gone. They deserve to die," or something like that. And that was very similar to the scene when she took Gia to the greenhouse or whatever to keep her out of the gas, and where she told her flat out, "I'm not a very nice person." And right now she's doing the same thing. She's telling her, I'm glad that these other people are dead. They weren't very nice people.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't lie to her, and she leaves it at that. And she's trying to, I think she's trying to not be her dad by saying, I'm not a nice person. Our family's not nice people. Where has her dad put on the veneer of being right, being righteous, and being, even though he was the biggest crook in the world. But it's very interesting. It's a very interesting scene. I really like the way they did that.
Kind of surprised she didn't adopt Gia or take her in. But maybe she's afraid of what will become of her if she grows up around those crimes and what she plans to do.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision. I think if your typical mob ego might opt to take somebody in thinking that you can form them, and water them and watch them grow and be in charge of what they see and do and groom them basically. And I think it takes a lot for her to say, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't take her in. Maybe I shouldn't, because I think she told her, you're going to be great. This is bad now, but you're going to be great. And but it wasn't because I'm going to take you in and make you great. She said, you're going to be great on your own.
Yeah.
So that was really something else. That was really really key.
Yeah. So when Sophia gets the call and they agreed to swap Francis for the drugs, they both know it's a setup. They both know they're walking into a trap. What did you expect to happen?
Man, the way this show was going, and the way it's been going the whole time,
Yeah.
I really could not have guessed at all, because it's been such a surprise, a delightful. Everything's been such a delightful surprise in the whole series. So, I really could not have guessed. Like the closer it got to that point where something was going to happen, my expectations kept changing. I was like, oh, geez, okay, so she's in the car, but she's staying back. What now? And then the car goes forward, and she gets out or something. I can't remember exactly how it went, but she got out, and they go to the car, and of course, you see the back, and you think, oh, is that his dead mother? Is that what is under the tarp there?
Yeah.
And so all sorts of stuff was just racing through my mind, and then of course the bomb is there. But
kind of, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I was a little bit surprised that he didn't at least warn everyone that there's a bomb, because they're all there to help him.
yeah,
They were all there they saved his life. Just probably a couple hours earlier. They're the reason he's still alive. He recruits them to be in his army, and he sees the bomb, doesn't warn anybody. He hides in the same tunnel that he locked his brothers in.
yeah,
when the bomb goes off, and that was a really neat. I guess it sounds bad, but it was a cool. The bomb going off was neat to see the street pop up. And,
oh, I know, yeah, that was like, whoa, took out a city street, jeez.
yeah,
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's an excellent parallel. By the way, they have him having to hide in the same exact tunnel that his brothers drowned in, most likely, and the and it's very interesting, because that scene with that whole setup thing perfectly mirrored the scene where he went to meet with the Maronis to exchange the son, for the mushrooms or whatever, except it was turned around. This time, he was the one telling his guys, all right, you guys get up on the balcony and hide, and be ready. And just same thing that the Maroni, I forget her name.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, but she did the same exact thing as he just did now. And so those scenes were kind of mirrored, opposite of each other. And then this time, Sophia came in, walking into the trap, so to speak, knowing it's a trap, setting a trap of her own. And then she gets the upper hand the same way Oz got the upper hand when he sprung the Maroni trap earlier in a couple episodes ago. And so I just I love that brilliant switch in the turning the tables there.
Nadia,
that's right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he gets a little, and also when he and Oz is fighting Saul, he was sure to mention or right before they started fighting, when he's trying to antagonize him, he talks about how the smell of burning hair and burning flesh, and that's
I know,
brutal.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just love how that all came together. It's like everything that's in the series so far has built upon everything else that's happened in just a wonderful way that it echoes back there's a certain familiarity to it, where at the same time there's constant tension and not knowing what's going to happen, and that's tough to pull off.
Yeah. So after the explosion, Oz gets knocked out on the street. So what happens next?
That is a good question. That is a good question. I can't remember who did he interact with when he finally woke up?
I think
his hearing
detective,
popped.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Detective Marcus Wise. I think that was who it was.
Okay. Yeah.
Looking at the cast list, I think that's the only person who looks familiar. But he's the one who I think works for them, and I think that's the one who knocked him out. But
yeah. So what happens next? Oh man, I do not know. But I did have the opportunity this weekend to go back and watch the Batman.
oh,
And I feel foolish because I didn't realize how much Colin Farrell was in that movie.
Hmm.
And
it's been a while. I don't remember him in there a whole lot. How much was it? A fair amount?
it was more than I thought. I thought it was just a appearance here and there, but there's a whole car chase scene,
Yeah.
and he's in the purple car. Or a purple car. I don't know if it's the same one or not, but and he interacts with the Batman quite a few times, and of course he interacts with Carmine Falcone quite a few times, and you see in the Batman he's part of the whole drops operation, and I'm just like, I really should have known all this before we started the Penguin. Yeah. But it was actually really cool. And to be honest with you, the first time I saw the movie, I thought it was really slow.
Mm.
I liked it. I thought it was well done, and I enjoyed it. But I did think it was really slow. But watching it this time, I was actually appreciating it a bit more. 'Cause I was looking for a bunch of stuff, and I was seeing it in the relations between this film and this current series of the Penguin is actually closer than I thought. So it actually ended up being pretty cool.
Oh wow! I should go back and watch it. Yeah, I think I watched. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it. I think.
Yeah.
So
And they actually, in the Batman, there's quite a couple of occasions where Carmine Falcone strangles some of the girls. So you start to see where the Hangman comes from. It's in the Batman, and of course the Riddler, the water, the whole flooding of which led to Vic losing his family and stuff like that. That's because of the events in the Batman with the Riddler and stuff like that. So, which we knew that, but it was just very cool seeing it all come together and how the Penguin, the beginning of the Penguin series, really tied into that part of it. So, yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch it before the last episode.
Yeah, I mean, I had some time this weekend. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna watch that, and I thought I was just gonna like turn it on and then move on or whatever, but I actually got glued and, and stuck with it. Yeah, yeah, and I did see on IMDb that the next Batman movie is supposed to be out in 2026, and Colin Farrell is definitely in it, so. It's all tied.
Yeah, we'll see. I know there's speculation of a season 2, or at least there's questions being raised, but I don't think anything has been confirmed or denied yet. But we'll see.
Yeah.
The last episode is titled Great or Little Thing.
That's kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah. Yeah, not very solid with the clues there.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But one more to go.
Yeah, I'm psyched and trepidatious at the same time. So we'll see how it works.
Yeah. Anything else on your list that we missed?
I think I'm good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So excited to see what happens next. One more to go. I still don't think Vic will make it. He's either going to be killed or he's going to leave to wherever his friend left to in episode 3 or whatever it was.
Right.
So, but maybe it'll go for the more of the tragic ending where Vic survives and becomes the Penguin's right-hand man and becomes just as bad as he is.
Maybe. I mean, do you think if Vic dies, is Oz really going to care that much?
I think so, a little bit. It seems like he's the only person that Oz really, other than his mom, that Oz really worries about. He wasn't too concerned about his other friend. I'll get her name. He didn't seem too concerned, or like he had to protect. I'll find her name here in a second.
Yeah. His girlfriend, so to speak.
Oh, Eve.
Eve, yeah.
Yeah. He didn't seem too concerned about saving her, protecting her. Doesn't seem like he's too concerned with her or what happens to her, but he's concerned about Vic. So, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So, it seems like Sophia is rejecting the chance to turn her niece into the next Sophia, but Oz is turning Vic potentially into the next Oz. It's interesting parallels going on there.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, and it is interesting that Oz would choose to take up, given what we've seen from his childhood. It was interesting that Oz would choose to take up Vic under his wing like that.
Yeah.
And entrust Vic with his mother the way he did. I mean, obviously he has stuff to do, so he can't be there for her all the time. But, it really is. I mean, maybe that's the growth we're looking for. Maybe that's the one thing to keep us on the empathic side of Oz, if at all.
I think he needed something to be empathetic. So maybe that's what it is. His mom too, in a really sick way. Yeah.
No, but they could have played up the mom angle to give us that empathic connection. But they gave us Vic as well, knowing that they were gonna drop the hammer on us when we saw what a little shit he was as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. He looks so sweet too. When we first see him, he looks really innocent and just little do we know. Yeah, good stuff though. Well, one more to go. Any predictions?
Jeez. Do I dare? I don't know. I'm very curious what's going to happen with Sophia. That's actually my really high point of interest, because does she Does she become a major crime boss? Does she die? Or does she throw it all away and say, I'm not doing this anymore, or whatever? I think all the possibilities are there. We've seen signs of capability, obviously, with her leadership ability and what have you. We know she has the skills to run stuff, but we've also seen signs that she doesn't want to do it the way her father did it, and she doesn't want to be her father. So we've seen that, and of course, it's a tough life, so death can happen anytime. But so, jeez, what's going to happen? It, they've just left it so, like they put all the pieces there to make it any of those things, without it being obvious that it's gonna be one of those things, and that's what I love about this show.
I think she'll walk away in some way, and she'll get Gia, and the last scene of her will be her preparing the same meal that Saul made for her last episode.
That's pretty specific.
That's my prediction. My prediction. Don't know how or why or the events leading to that, but I think the last scene of Sophia will be her preparing that meal for Gia, and she'll be out of the loop, out of the business. But
yeah, but then they'll drag her back in.
Yeah. Unless we're setting up some kind of gang war to start, and that'll be the centerpiece of the next Batman movie, and there'll be Sophia and Oz will be the two sides that'll be at war, and I don't know.
Yeah, there's always that possibility, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would tend towards that. I think there's going to be a de-escalation between her and the Penguin at some point, and that'll lead to the state of affairs in Gotham for the movie.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Going to see what happens next. But until next week, Jarrod, where can people find you?
I can be found at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel and on Speculative Speculation podcast and other fine podcasts on pagetuning.com.
You can find us on PageTuning. Come by and say hello. We are starting the Oscars project soon, which will be the Oscars Best Picture of every year, starting at 1960 and working our way up. So if you'd like to join us for those, or just listen, those are coming here in about a month or so, probably. But until then, we will talk to everyone very soon.